All right, we're live. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Victor Kitchen Gaming. My name is Doug. Today on the show, I'm so excited. I have someone that is just one of my favorite people in the industry, and he's just doing some great stuff. Him and his company, Mantic Games, they're doing awesome projects. And right now, they have a Kickstarter for the Hellboy miniatures board game on Kickstarter, and it's just doing phenomenal. And everybody should go back it right now. And if you're interested in backing in this chat and everything that we're talking about, I put the link to the Kickstarter in the description of the video, so go back it, check it out. It's doing awesome. Ronnie,
hello
what is
there.
going on? Are you excited or what? You're just burning up Kickstarter.
We're owning it. You know, we know that lingo that you boys and girls use over there. So yeah, we're off the chain, aren't we? We're off the hook. Whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's great fun. It's wonderful. You know, it's IP we loved for years. Had while talking to them, they really were most keen that whoever took the license on really understood it, really got the property. You know, it's not the movies, it's the comic license, it's that rich, kind of folklore stuff that Mike's on about. So,
sure.
It took us a while, but they one of the guys there, great guy, Michael Gombus, was a big Mantic fan, and he kind of made it happen and made it all work. And hopefully we're repaying that faith that they had in us.
Absolutely. It looks like a phenomenal game, and it's designed by a designer that you've had quite a few other projects.
Yeah, so he worked for us early on. I mean, almost before he was a games designer, and then and then he went off to GW. He was helping us out, but he was also community manager for us. And then he came back to us. So
it
was good.
It's James Hewitt, and he's just doing. I've watched a few of the actual plays on online, and it looks like just a phenomenal game. It looks like it's a lot of fun. It looks like there's a lot of variability. It looks like a lot of replay value with this game, and that's what really excites me about this game. Is it just it's 1 to 5 players, so I can sit down and play it even if I don't have any friends over or anything. And what I'm going to play tonight might be different than what I've played previously, which is really cool.
Every time. I mean, I think with the Deck of Doom cards, with the rooms cards coming out differently, with the equipment you can choose, with the characters you can choose, I suspect if we're not at infinite possibilities, we're certainly in the hundreds of millions. And we design our games for replayability, because I think it takes 2 or 3 games, straight away if you're enjoying it.
Sure.
And I think with Hellboy, we've done a dungeon game a couple of years ago called Dungeon Saga. It was kind of classic retake on the barbarian, dwarf, elf, and wizard, going around and smashing up. We spent a lot of time kind of boiling down the essence, kind of D&D. And what we came up with was it was a hack and slash, but your characters leveled up.
Sure. As
they went through each scenario, you would at the end, hey, the elf finds some armor. And instead of having 1 feat by scenario 4, you have 2 feats. So, of course, you're leveling up quite quickly, but it meant that where in the first game you were fighting skeletons, by the 4th game you're fighting zombie trolls.
Right,
so we could scale up, but we could also scale up the baddies you were fighting, which kind of gave you that whole experience, the essence of a dungeon crawl game. The essence of a Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game type thing.
Now this game doesn't quite have.
Pardon?
This game doesn't quite have that leveling system.
No, so what we did again is about what's the essence of it, and we didn't want it to just be a fight, because the Hellboy comics aren't just a fight; they're not just to smash their way through, and so we spent a lot of time understanding it's kind of what it always started. Hellboy turns up somewhere, he doesn't know what's going to happen, but he knows it's going to be bad.
Yep.
And then so what we've done is we've split it through, kind of each turn.
I think we might
engaging and exploring and turning up clues and finding information out. And the more you find of that, the more chance you have of beating the end level boss.
Sure.
The more knowledge, the more books you've read, the more clues you've dug out. So the better you play in the fighting, and the more time you have for digging up clues, the more chance you've got of defeating the boss at the end. So it's a really kind of dynamic game system that's got two interplays that all play against each other, of course. But then there's the time clicking on to the hour of midnight, the kind of deck of doom hitting the doom counter hitting 12, and all of a sudden, the baddie arrives. So you can't allow that to happen. So you don't have infinite time to just explore and investigate and so on and so forth. So clock's ticking, baddies jumping out, but at the same time, you've got to make sure you're investigating and exploring, not just blowing the bad guys up.
Right. No, I love all the aspects of this game. I think it's just phenomenal. How long has this game been in development?
So, I mean, we started talking to Dark Horse probably nearly end of 2016.
Okay.
And then, we put a presentation together. They liked what we were talking about there. Around that stage, we start talking about the essence of the game. What style of game is it? A board game? Is it a skirmish game? Is it a war game? With this one, it absolutely fitted the board game format.
Sure.
Sure. It absolutely did. And then you go, well, we've got a few templates in there. We thought Dungeon Saga, because it was all about the fighting, it was all about the positioning, it was all about bottlenecks, where the enemy have to overwhelm you in that game mostly. So there was choke points where the enemy can flood you, and it's a player versus player. With this one, it's more co-op gameplay. Yep. And so, and also we didn't want the maps to be as fiddly. It wasn't as important that there was a lot of catch points and areas to break big lines of sight up, because it's a bit more hack and slash in the fighting phase. Sure. It's either going really well or really bad. And so we've done these lovely, wonderful kind of square tiles and rectangular tiles, but they're coloured in the art, in the style of Mike's art. So they've just got a really strong character. It's not too, true to life, if you like. It's a stylized art print. So
yeah, it's like having a 3D comic on your table as you're playing.
That's exactly what we're trying to create. Exactly that feel, and it's something a bit different. There's a lot of tiles out there that look like a dungeon, that look like a spaceship. So we've created stuff that has its own unique style. So we kind of put the big pieces together on the second pitch when we had a conversation with them. I spoke to them in Licensing Expo last year in May in Vegas. And that was really when we kind of realised we were both on the same page, and that this was a good fit. Nice. I think at that point they just announced the new movie just a couple of weeks before, so everyone else in the world was going, "Yes, a Hellboy movie," and I'm thinking, "No, I have 10 other companies going after the Hellboy license."
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, but fortunately, they liked the cut of our jib and what we were saying. So I then got them a couple of sculpts done. We got down to brass tacks. We started working up the game. Back in March, I don't know if you saw, I did a travel around the US, and that was when I was taking them through the gameplay, and I was talking through how we intended to run the Kickstarter and the kind of finalized range. At that point, they were still, but they were very pleased that we were using James. They loved, what we were doing with Room 17. I took them all the sculpts over so they could really. It's one thing seeing a render, but you get to see it 18 inches tall on your TV screen. You're going to be able to, when you actually get the model in your hand, you get a wholly different feel for the attention to detail and the quality that's gone in there. So took them all that. They were really happy, and that was the kind of green light we could press ahead with the Kickstarter. So
nice, yeah. The minis that you've previewed are just amazing. We've seen some painted up on your Facebook page. You've spoiled some on different. You've had other professional studios paint them up, and they're gorgeous. I can't wait to have those on on my table.
Well, not too long away. 10 minutes. Just around the corner.
Yeah. Hey, $10.
Delayed gratification.
Absolutely. That's all right.
Now, the minis look lovely. They do look absolutely beautiful. Our sculpt manager has got a wonderful team of sculptors now, and he knows exactly who does what well and gives the right sculpts to the right people so that they get it. There's actually, when we get the first one in, we wanted Hellboy to be a little bit bigger, so that we have that little bit of, we spent a lot of time making sure that they really feel like great gaming pieces as well as great miniatures. Because we do have an audience that wants to paint them, and I don't think Hellboy's ever been done properly for painters. So I think it's going to be week 3 or something like that. We're actually going to make a limited resin run available through the
Oh,
Kickstarter.
nice.
So
that's very cool.
So those that want to get their hands on a painted version, we'll do that, and we can just prep it, and then we've got kind of 6 months, 7 months to get it ready for them.
Wow, very nice, very nice. So today, so your Kickstarter, you've been covered on the BBC. You've been like your Kickstarter just went crazy, like right out of the gate. Did you have any inclination that it was going to do this much, Ronnie?
Not this much. I mean, I think we were quietly confident that it was going to be good. I mean, we did very well last year with Terrain Crate, but it just wasn't quite as glamorous. It was one of those quiet little, you know what, I've needed that for a while.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm a bit of a terrain freak, so it's a little bit of a passion of mine. So when I came in the office and I said, right, we're going to do a Terrain Crate Kickstarter, they all looked at me like, you are crazy. I said, well, we know that. Let's park that. But I might be crazy, but it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
I went on a 3-hour-long walk with Rob, and I explained it to him, and he was like, yeah, okay, I get it now. Yeah. And, I think the fact is we've done the plastic terrain for dungeons and a big chunk of tabletop now. But, we've got some more plans for that. So we had quite a lot of experience. Vanguard was a much more low-key product for us.
Sure.
We're just kind of bringing a kind of skirmish version of Kings of War, so you're already at the tabletop end. It wasn't a huge figure count. We were doing some resins with it. It's all about these kind of hero figures. So we hadn't really smacked it out of the park for quite some time. You're probably back to Dungeon Saga since our very last. Well, no, Walking Dead was also big, but again, it was a skirmish game. And right. As soon as you move from board game to skirmish game, your market gets an awful lot smaller.
Well, I like the fact that it's a skirmish game, but it's also it's a great entry point skirmish game for board gamers.
Correct. That's exactly where it's positioned. No, you've seen it right, and I genuinely believe we've actually got a kind of general's compendium type book being worked on at the moment, so that the super hardcore, I think, are crying out for a good scrap now. Something different, and I think it's got that complexity. There's hundreds of cards of equipment now, so you can make some really nasty combinations.
Sure.
Similarly, we hope to have a greenlit Walking Dead board game very soon as well, focused on Negan.
That's exciting.
Co-op with a very big twist.
Nice.
Which is that no one gets to play Negan. You only get to play his lieutenants, and you have to win by getting the most reputation. So hopefully that's going to get greenlit in the next week or so, which is going to be our surprise, which I've just revealed and ruined for everybody.
Oh no! Hey, it's exclusive for me. I'm excited.
There you go. You've got it. You got the story. So we're going to cover kind of all three bases with that, because it's beautiful. And I still think the US may well pick up on the Walking Dead skirmish game, and it could just go crazy in the next 12, 18 months as that General's Compendium kicks in, the board game kicks in, and people realise that, I can replay the graphic novels through the expansions.
It's true.
And it's a good lads and dads, dads with their kids kind of game. Parents, mums, as you like it. It's very approachable. It's very easy to get into. But what they don't realise is we're converting them into toy soldier fans.
I'll tell you what, my wife is not a miniatures gamer at all. She is a Walking Dead fan. She loves this game, Ronnie. That is it's one thing that I can't thank you enough for doing that, because you've kind of converted her over to the dark side for me.
No, and I don't know how much further, but I've heard that story a lot, Douglas. I've heard that story a lot. My wife doesn't, but with this one, she's just intrigued enough, and the zombies behave exactly as you want them to. All of a sudden you fire your gun and they come piling over, and it's got that kind of suspense from the comics. It's right there on the gaming table. You look at it and you think, I don't want to move. I don't know what to do. I'm just petrified. And then eventually you realise you can probably kill one zombie, and then you roll badly and it bites you and it's dead.
It's great. It's great. I will add that if anybody is watching this and you have any questions for Ronnie, feel free to leave them in the chat. I am keeping an eye on the chat, so feel free to ask any questions, and I'll be glad to feed them in. If not, then I'll ask them at the end. So today, so let's talk a little bit about this Kickstarter that you have for Hellboy. I love the fact that you've kind of lumped it in as the core game and and some expansions together for one low price. And when it first launched, I'm going to tell you right, you know, right off the bat, when I was shooting it to all my friends, I'm like, oh, look what Mantic just put out, look what, and then a couple people said, Doug, that doesn't really look like I'm getting that much for my money. And I said to him, you've never backed a Mantic Kickstarter then, because by the time this thing is done, it's gonna be crazy. And it's already it looks like you've got so much value already with this.
Oh, it's there, and this was one we front loaded as well. I mean, there's 2 full expansions. I think what's also hard with the Kickstarter. Now, when you've got a Kickstarter that you've done that same game 3 or 4 times and people know exactly what it's going to cost them at retail,
right.
They can go, well, that's going to cost that's going to cost that, I can cost it up. With this one, with any first-time Kickstarter, you go, well, this game will be $90 at your store. That first expansion, so in that you're going to get your frogs, you're going to get your, it's the Seeds of Destruction storyline. You're going to get your 4 major heroes. You're going to get all your tiles and everything else. Then to get your Nazis and your evil bad guys, you're going to need the Conquer Worm expansion.
Right.
50, 60 bucks. Well, there you go. That's your pledge covered right there. Oh, here's the BDRP archive. That's the way that you can build your own adventures and play infinite games, And these are all the things that, I don't know, our initial urge is always kind of, well, put it all in one game. But suddenly, and you're seeing this with some of the Kickstarters where they're coming on and saying, guys, this is never coming to retail.
Right.
because by the time you've sold it, the distributor, the retailer, everybody down the line has had it. It's an essentially different game, and I think a few games have got in trouble with that. So what we've said is we start the other way and we go, when this is on at retail, what does the range look like? Okay, let's put that together. Let's put it in a beautiful box. Let's get some really exclusive stuff. Let's make sure it's already worth $100 more than if you bought them all individually. Right. Now let's get going. Now let's get some stretch goals in there.
Absolutely.
And let's keep filling this up and spending as much money as we can to cover that tooling bill, to get it made and get it designed and to do all the things you need to do. So, yeah, it's going very well. I think, what are we up to? 15, 16 stretch goals, most of which have been minis so far. So,
and some of them have just been upgrades to components, which I always like that as well. A lot of people say, well, they want minis, but I like higher quality components in my games.
Absolutely. And it's one of those, even you get your first quotes and you're at a print run of 2,000, you're at, the thinner card is what it has to be. But it is one of those massive wins from a Kickstarter that when you can go and place an order for 10,000 copies, those linen cards can be the same price as the much thinner, cheaper cards were at 2,000.
Sure.
So it really is the economies of Kickstarter working well, and we want to say great. That was one that was kicking around the 10,000 backer mark, because that's when we knew we could really go back and negotiate and say, okay, we're prepared to pay that price, but we need this upgraded, that upgraded, this upgraded, and we need all these things to happen. So, it's wonderful when we're seeing it happening, and I've no doubt, the Walking Dead. Kickstarter edition was just a beautiful product. It just came up in the trays of miniatures were all laid out there. All the cards were there, the cars, the terrain, and everything else. I think this one's going to be even nicer. I think it's just going to be mind blowing when you see it all with the colours and the big monsters. With the Walking Dead, you had the cast of 1,000, but they were all humans. They were either dead humans or alive humans, but they were all human based. The charm that we have here is that they're not. We've got monsters that the Conqueror Worm is.
Worm, yeah.
Yeah, it is massive. It's just massive. The big giant frog. So we've got just a different sandpit to play in, and it's beautiful. It's joyous.
Excellent. We do have a couple questions. Let's see. Kyle Cherry asks, "Hey Ronnie, are there any more Conqueror Worm sized add-on expansions planned for the campaign?" And then Simon McMahon actually has a pretty similar question. It says, any hints as to what might appear over the next couple of add-on Wednesdays, or is that super secret?
Well, I don't know if it's secret or not, but I mean, you've got me late at night. I'm a bit sleepy. I suspect if you travel south of America, you get to somewhere interesting.
Okay.
And anyone that knows Hellboy will kind of guess pretty well what we're referring to. And that's this is a kind of we've basically got the strong narrative that runs through Hellboy, the kind of serious narrative, which is Seeds of Destruction, Conquer a Worm, the kind of Wild Hunt. You've got that. Darkness Calls. You've got that narrative, but occasionally, Hellboy goes off the rails and travels down south. So he goes drinking with skeletons and having other fun. And so, one of the things we're going to do with the Kickstarter is we will definitely progress down the serious storyline and show people what that story is going to look like.
Excellent.
And that we will be working through the graphic novels. But at the same time, just as he goes off the rails a little bit occasionally, so will we have a little dabble here and there. And so, heading south from Texas, where do you come to? You never know where Hellboy might be. So
absolutely,
that's something where we would really like to do something just very quirky and the other side of that Hellboy character that's not. He's always fighting bad guys, but he's not always doing it in haunted houses and haunted castles. He goes off piste at times.
Kyle says incredible. Simon says awesome. So that it sounds like you're definitely hitting the expansions that they were hoping for. So
great.
That's
good
awesome.
Stuff. Yeah, no, we've got those two. So yeah, watch that. One Wednesday. I think the next couple of Wednesdays coming. Like I said, we're going to have some resins for the painters. Because there is people who will play the game, but some of them just want to sit down and paint. And I think Hellboy's never been available for painters. And not just Hellboy, because we've sculpted all these models and now we've got an in-house resin plant. We've got our own in-house resin team that are still working on Vanguard right now. We're going to do the whole BPRD. We're going to pull them out. You'll be able to just buy Hellboy. But then after that, just to make the manufacturing kind of simple, after that you either, get the BPRD or not. And then we'll do some of the big baddie guys because, they merit their own paint scheme at times. And I think some of those will appear in, some of the painting competitions. And already, we had our first test shots and we gave them away to some good painters. And there's just some jaw-dropping paint jobs already kicking about.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what those are going to look like. So one question I have for you that I've already talked to. I've networked with quite a few different game stores in this state and a couple other outside states. I was talking to them about Kickstarter games, and I said that they're always kind of negative with Kickstarter games because of the fact that everybody gets it on Kickstarter. They don't buy it from their local store. But I read somewhere that you intend to have much like you did with Walking Dead, you have retail exclusive expansions planned for Hellboy. Is that correct?
So we are fundamentally long-term a retail orientated business. We want to work with hobby stores, and that's without those guys. I could possibly have a business, but it's not a business I want.
Sure.
I think it'll be much smaller. And I think you run from one campaign to the next. And that's not what we're about. Kings of War has had hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on its tooling. Similarly, The Walking Dead is already up around that figure. And actually, when people buy into a hobby, they want to participate in it. I think we live in a world now where that kind of a store will let's do The Walking Dead for a few weeks. And everyone will go and buy a gang. You'll all play for a couple of months, play through a campaign, and then you'll pick something else. And it might be a Mantic game, it might be it could be any one of them. And then it will scroll round. And I think, I would remember, you've always got your armies in the background. So I think if fundamentally you're a Kings of War player, you'll always have your Kings of War army going.
Right.
But I might play Vanguard, but then I might play Walking Dead, and then I might play a bit of Hellboy, and we've got a good choice, but there's other choices out there. I don't think anyone will ever dominate in the way that we did in the 90s, that they do the skirmish game and the war game and everything else. But that happens at different places at different times. Last year we ran a Kings of War summer campaign, and we're having a phenomenal run with Kings of War still on the back of that. You know, stores are picking it up. People are building up their armies. They know we're going to run a summer campaign next year. We've got Vanguard in this year, so it's a big recruitment drive for the whole game system. So we are about retail. So I think we've got 3 initiatives for Hellboy. And this is on a backdrop of, in the early days with Dreadball, our first Dreadball, we sold 5 times as many games through trade as we did through the Kickstarter.
Nice.
Kickstarter gave us the plastics to tool 20 teams. Well, 12 teams in the first one, which meant 12 plastic teams, which meant the price was really affordable, which means the retail launch was really good. Now, there was a period, I think, around Dreadball Extreme and Mars Attacks, where we were thinking too much about the Kickstarter and not enough about the retail tail, the retail launch. And everything was going in and all the good ideas we had all rolled into those, you know, the Mars Attacks. It was great. We did all the soldiers. We did big stompy robots, flying saucers. Didn't realise what's going to make this special at retail. We didn't have, you know, a campaign system or a demo stores or whatever else it was that it needed.
Right.
So that's when I said, okay, enough. Dungeon Saga was very much about retail. So if you look at the Kickstarter, we never mentioned the leather-bound book. That was never in the Kickstarter. It was something that I was able to do because I had a print run for 6,000. And I could go back to China and say, okay, you guys, I want you to do this with the box. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. And it cost us a bit more money, but I thought that would really help it at retail.
Sure.
So the 3 things we're going to do is when we did Walking Dead, we had an overprint because we knew it was everything's in that box. If one of those boxes get damaged, we need to, you know, gets lost, we have to be able to replace it. But then we actually rounded up the numbers because it fell between 2 milestones. And we thought, well, we can take a few to the shows and sell them. And they were really successful. When people at retail, even though they can't afford the Kickstarter perhaps, or it's just they don't want to wait, but when people see the box, they go, yeah, I'm having that. So any retailer that deals with us or wants to deal with us can put £100, $150 deposit down during the Kickstarter. And I'll check what we're up to, but I think it's about 80 customers have done this. 1,000 backers. 87 stores have already just put a small deposit down, and that is just credit to use, but they can unlock anything in the Kickstarter. If they want that base pledge, which we guess they will, they can fill out the pledge manager and they can have 3, 6, 9 or 12 of them.
Nice.
So a person can come into their store, I want the Hellboy Kickstarter, well, give me $20 and you'll have one here when it comes in. But if we do some retail exclusive or Kickstarter exclusive expansions, they can access those too.
Okay.
So firstly, we are making the Kickstarter available to them to buy, to sell. We will not be selling it after the Kickstarter. I mean, if we've got 50 left, we'll take them to the show. But I'm not going to sell to retailers after the Kickstarter that product.
Okay.
So only they will have it.
Excellent.
So I think that's the first big one. The second one is we design our products with a retail range in mind, and then we bundle those together for the Kickstarter.
Okay.
And yes, we add some extras, but as we know, the retail stores can get that whole package. But, you know, we think about, well, look, a $150 game, $175 game at retail is not going to sell in your average retail store.
Absolutely.
So we say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's make it Seeds of Darkness. Let's make it about the frogs. Let's give them the base tiles. Let's give them all the basic things you need. Let's give them, you know, Abe, Hellboy, Liz, Johan. Give them everything to go so people feel familiar with it. Put it out at $89.99 and say, there you go, that's now a retail product. And then here's a Conqueror Worm expansion. So you can play through that game. So we design the range to be retail friendly. And third and finally, and this is as good for the backers as it is for the retail stores, we bring out new things at roughly a third of the range, and it comes out direct to retail. And what's great about that is if you've had a Kickstarter and you've been playing with it, but the first new release is 3 years later, you are gone. You have finished. You've moved on.
Yeah, that was my question. That was going to be my follow-up question is how long would these expansions be? Would they be released at the time of the base game, or would they be, shortly after?
So we will have something in a base game. There'll be something, and what we'll eventually do is, go to the email, go to our backers and say, look, these are going to be in stores here. Get on down. Now, of course, through our own mail order, some people may have ordered where there's no store locally, or they're living in Hong Kong where we have no stores even in the country. So, they'll buy it online from us or from one of our independents. But we'll have, so with Walking Dead, we had a solo one-player game focusing on Brian Blake at launch, which has been very, very popular.
It's a great product.
We had Negan in the first wave. So there was a couple of and Rick on Horse.
Right.
Shane, trying to remember. But there was 2 retail exclusives in that first wave. So even if you're a backer, you can pop down to the store. But we're all completionists. We all want all our toys, and we want those extra cards. It's only $20, and you can pop in, pick it up, and you're in the store participating and getting excited about your hobby as well. And it's good for the stores. So we will have product from launch and throughout to support the retail edge. We'll have a plastic tool with some different minions or some different bosses in it. And throughout the whole life of the product, you'll be able to pick up things that you've never seen before.
Nice. Because that was one concern that a lot of retail stores seems to have. Like they claim to say that there's a cult of the new, where folks get really excited about a game once it releases, and then you maybe pre-order all these expansions, but they don't come out until 6 months later or a year later, and by then the interest might have not have been at its peak at that point. So
I think it's where we are, and we're hoping, I think that's what's nice about miniature games is we understand that, if you've got a good game, Kings of War, then an army comes out once a year, twice a year, and you go down, you pick it up, and that changes the meta.
Sure.
With both The Walking Dead and with Hellboy, we're not an out-and-out board game company. Our DNA is miniature games.
Right.
Sometimes we play them on boards, but we're a miniature game company, and I'm quite dogmatic about that. We will do great games like that explore our IP or explore the IP we've got, but deep down we make and sell miniature war games. Toy soldiers. That's what we have at our core. And I think it means that we have a different approach. It's small and often not big and rare in terms of new releases.
Yeah, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's go back to the Kickstarter just a little bit and talk a little bit about. You just released a couple different things that. You unlocked a couple different things that you announced today. You unlocked a Hellboy print, which is great for backers. Yep.
So that was the cover of the box is a unique piece done by Mike for us.
Nice.
So that is going to be the cover of the box. This is a piece of Mike art that's never been seen before. We got Mike to do that for us, and what's wonderful about it is he kind of heard about where we were taking that first game, with the frog monster and the agents that are in it, and they are on that piece of art. So that's lovely. So we're going to celebrate that with an art print, and then we've used it as well, I think, on a dice tray. I think that came out today.
Yep, that did come out today.
Which is lovely. It's a one-off kind of Kickstarter exclusive. It's we don't need it, but boy, do we want it.
Sure.
Lovely little piece. Working with a good company there to make a nice product. We've got some of those. So.
Excellent, and then you've got some 3D terrain, which it looks like Terrain Crate.
Exactly what it is. What's nice about Terrain Crate now is we have a range of about 400 pieces of individual pieces of terrain. So when James, because he knew us and had written the game, this was a design decision by him about in the comics the furniture gets smashed. And there's a consequence to that, because any piece of furniture that goes down has a clue on it. But if you smash the furniture, you lose the clue. So it's a real, and it's quite useful because Hellboy could pick the furniture up and knock some guys down with it.
Absolutely.
But there's going to be a consequence if you do it. So he'd already kind of designed that mechanic, and I said, well, let's just go through our range of terrain, and there's almost certainly nothing that we can't get you.
Yeah.
So he's, they've gone through and he's designed the game, and then you've got your doors and you've got your scenery to allow you to just change it from card pieces to 3D. You don't need to. Board gamers probably won't want to. Not just like me, and probably you every time. Thank you. Yeah.
No. We like our 3D terrain. Come on.
We like a bit of 3D. Exactly. That's where I am. So,
absolutely.
Bookcases getting smashed and tables getting thrown. Chairs getting busted. So, it's all, as you said, each room up, and the pieces they picked are the pieces that will be the cards inside the game. Nice,
very good, very good. Let's. What else? I had some other questions for you. I had today was such a hectic day at work, and of course you had such a hectic day at just in general.
Yeah, fighting off burglars from the back door of the house.
Yeah, so
that's my incredible. Dreadball teams. So I was thinking, well, I don't think you know what you've got there. It might look interesting, but unless you're hardcore and you want a Green Moon Smackers and a Trontex 29ers and a couple of acrylic pitches, I don't think you know what you've got there, my friend. This is far more valuable to me than it is to you.
Yeah, that's scary. That's and your son was at home too, right?
Yeah, we were just about to do the school run. So when he came in, he said, "Dad, there's someone in the conservatory." And I was thinking, maybe my wife's got someone doing some, DIY or something around, because, if I put a nail in the back of the house, the back wall falls off, so she doesn't let me anywhere near DIY. So I was wondering if it was that. But now, as soon as you got there, you realise it was a bit of a suspicious situation. So we politely asked him to leave, and we got some photographs, so I think the police are on him now.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been polite in that situation, Ronnie. I think I probably would have been unpolite. That's
probably was a correct response, but I was kind of a little bit surprised. So I was like, "Excuse me, what's going on here?" The policeman said, "You're very polite." I said, "Well, there we go. Seemed to work."
Well, that's pretty amazing. That especially when it comes to my family, I would have been get out of my house right now. So
exactly. Yeah.
I'm glad that it didn't turn up that way. Let's talk a little bit about. We've got a couple more stretch goals to go that you've already announced. You've got a Right Hand of Doom impending Doom token. That's something that backers were asking about.
Yeah. Well, it's great. This is where we really are able to do that. There comes a tipping point where at print runs of 2,000 and 3,000. We'll have spent every spare penny and some on tooling the plastics for the game and tooling all of the game pieces.
Sure.
And you've got your sheets of card, and at 3,000, you just don't have any tooling money left to start doing some of the cool and funky things where it's nice to have, but you don't need to have. So a card token. So you've got what happens is the monsters sometimes will attack the toughest person in the group, and sometimes will attack the weakest person in the group. So James has designed on the main tile, on the kind of game setup piece where all the cards are and the Doom tracker is, a little bit where you have the priority ranking of attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's you have a priority level plus the wounds you've got left. So sometimes you can become weaker, and then if they attack the weaker one, oh my God, what are you going to do about it? So, and then they start out life as 4 little card tokens, with a little picture of Hellboy on it, But actually, once you get to a certain number, you can suddenly say, well, actually, we can do a little tool, get those done as busts, get the Doom tracker done as the Fist of Doom, Right Hand of Doom, and all those little really nice to haves that just aren't possible at the lower print runs and budget forgiving suddenly become not only possible but fantastic fun. So we're in that space where it goes from a very nice game that plays well and looks pretty to one that looks astounding, to one that has everything you want in it. And we are, because of the support we've got, we're in that space now where we're upgrading the card components and we're getting those cards turned into plastic where we can, to make it just a very beautiful game experience.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what, because I know even later on. I mean, you still have 2 more weeks left on this campaign, and
nearly 3 actually.
3 weeks,
22 days. Yeah, no, we've got 20 days. So we'd seen a few of the other big ones that were going. They're ending this week. We'd always called April, so we kind of left it towards the end. We got off to a phenomenal start. We recognise this week will probably be a slightly quieter week, just in terms of other things closing out. But then I think we've got a 3-week run in with some really huge, expansions and add-ons, some more cool stretch goals, and.
But this says a lot about not only this IP, but you as a Mantic as a company, that you were able to create this huge success, even with the strong competition that's on Kickstarter right now.
Absolutely. No, and I think we outside of our own worlds that we're creating, we realise that we pour a lot of love and care and attention into an IP. If we don't read it and we don't care about it, I don't think we can do it justice. And it's going to dominate our lives for 3 to 5 years. So if you don't like it, we're just not going to be able to stick with it. So we are very, very selective about who we would work with and what we want to work with, because we're going to read every single comic, every single page. We're going to go about the sculpts. We're going to spend a lot of time on the gameplay. We're going to want to get expansions and change it around and do little articles where you can have fights and add-ons and have fun with that license. So we pick really carefully to make sure that it's something we really love and care about. And I think if we've done that, and we do, the fans, the people that love it, recognise that we care about it. And this has been phenomenal. I mean, it's just very exciting to see, and everything we've done, I think, is just getting people excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see where it ends up once it's all said and done. Joel Karpowitz asks, "Is there anything planned for £1 million?"
There sure is. We were just discussing it by email earlier.
Nice.
It's a pretty huge milestone. I'm trying to give you a clue without giving it away.
So you started something, Ronnie.
Yeah, let's say it's one of the most asked for characters. It's definitely a mini. How could it not be a mini? And we've got this idea that a certain character can just pop up anytime, any place, anywhere, and cause some kind of chaos and madness and reap some mayhem. And it might be her.
Nice. Well, so, hopefully,
we'll let people speculate on that, but we do have something pretty funky planned, and I think people will be excited. We've got a wonderful sculpt, and I think people are going to go crazy for it.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see what it is, because it's gonna happen. We all know it's gonna happen.
Touch wood, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've got hopefully the expansions kicking in will drive up those totals as well, and then we've got plenty more stretch goals as well. So I think between those two things, we've got plenty of good stories to come. We're revisiting some of the gameplay and some of those other things that are happening. We've got Mantic Open Day weekend this weekend, so it's going to be.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because I read something the other day that you actually give tours of Mantic headquarters. Now that I've read that, that's on my bucket list, Ronnie.
Absolutely.
That's something I got to do before I die.
Yeah, well, we have more people come from Australia and America than we do from anywhere in the UK. It's 2 hours in the UK to get there from most places, because people obviously come to Nottingham. It is kind of the lead capital of the world. It's the gaming industry's mecca. So they'll travel from all over the world, and that's and one of the things that's nice about ours. I mean, there is the Warhammer World's awesome, and it's very polished. They've got some great stuff there. They spend a lot of money on it. At the same time, I kind of like our tour to that. If you're going to go and see Budweiser, you also want to see that craft brewery around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, that's making his homemade beer, and people come down and we show them casting miniatures, and you can actually, see a miniature cast, and then by the time you finish your tour, you can actually take that as your miniature that you take it home with you.
Oh, that sounds so awesome.
So yeah, and you'll walk around the office and you'll see us talking about whatever project we're talking about. I mean, as long as it's not NDA'd up, otherwise you have to sign an NDA. But then you get to hear us talking about it, and so it's very, very genuine and real, and people love it. And then we have Mantic Monday, so quite often they'll tie the tour in. So you see casting, you'll see resin casting, you'll see what's in the studio, you'll get a proper tour. And see the inner workings of a toy soldier company, and I think people love that closeness to us. So we're working hard on that, and yeah, please get on over and be our guest and have our tour.
I would love that. That's as soon as I read that, I'm like that's like my Disney World as a 40-year-old adult.
Exactly.
That's.
It's where we all are. And I said, we love to go see breweries and distilleries and gaming companies. What else is there? So I still geek out going down to computer game companies. If we're talking about a license or something, you'll still walk around and you see that. So no, we want to get more of these tours going on, and we've got this great facility at the front of the building that we can host people. So we're trying to get a few events. We've always done the open days, which are really nice, but they're a general day, people to hang around, play a few different games, demo. But there's also some 20 people that want to come down and just play a super hardcore weekend of Walking Dead, or a doubles tournament of Kings of War. And these tournaments don't need to be 200 strong. We have that. We have Clash of Kings. But 20 is just great. We've got a facility there. We've got an events manager in there. So come on down. Let's get 24 people that want to play some Kings of War, and let's play. And then in a couple of weeks, let's play a battle royale version of Walking Dead, and everyone can have a gang, and you've got the whole weekend, and let's see how alive you stay, and we can do those things because we've got a load of studio terrain that people will never play on. We've got the studio miniatures, so you can come in and play a game that you've dreamed about playing. And I think there's a lot of stuff there that we'd love to do more of.
It sounds amazing. It's like just. My dream. It's my dream weekend.
Jump on a plane. It's not far from New York.
Well, I can't even get to Gen Con. I can't even get to Origins or any of these other shows with my work. Work's just been crazy. So that's half the part of it is finding time.
Real life getting away of toy soldiers.
I know. Adulting, it's the worst.
So yeah, open day this weekend. So the other thing is with the open day, we have one of these in October, November, one in May. We also open up the kind of archives over these open day weekends because we realise that such as yourself can't get there. But we want to say, look, hey, here's our Mantic points. Here's some models. We might have a Kickstarter and there might be 30 of something left over. Well, actually, it's not worth putting that up on the web store. It's certainly not enough to sell to our retail stores. So these are the weekends where we say, hey, guys, we've got 30 of these. When they've gone, they've gone. Hey, we've found these resins that we had here. And we've got, so this time what we've got is, I don't remember from Dead Zone, we had Sergeant Howlett, which was kind of coming down in the Iron Man pose, and he's got the claws on, and he's a great model. Well, we actually made him in 3-up. We've printed him out, so he's 90 millimeters tall.
Wow.
It's an absolutely beautiful model. And that is the gift if you come to the open day this weekend. If you get a £10 ticket, you get one of those. We just think there's a lot of people around the world that may have backed Dead Zone or may have backed and spent a lot of money on Warpath. They're going to be a little bit upset if they can't get their hands on one of those.
Right.
So this is the weekend. We'll say, okay, you want one of these? It's this weekend. It might be 3 or 4 weeks before we finish casting them. But if you place your order this weekend, you will get one. And this is the only chance you'll get to get one because it's a one-off. We'll run the mold till it's gone, and then you've got something. You've got a piece of Mantic history that years from now will be, much coveted. And, there's still a lot of people talk about our Kings of War 3-up. So we've found those molds. We're bringing a few of those back. But each time they're different, So if you've got the skeleton with the spear, you've got a skeleton with a spear, and no one else has got that one because that combination has been done.
Nice. I like that. I like the collectible aspect of that.
Yeah. So definitely worth jumping on the Mantic Open Day website this weekend, seeing what craziness is going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, speaking of events, this other events that you've got going on this week, where are folks going to be able to find you in 2018? Are you going to be at Gen Con or?
Yeah, stateside we're going to be at Gen Con. We will be there, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got two big sections this time. We've got our exhibitor space, which we've had, I think, about 9 years now. Gen Con was the first show we ever attended. So we've got that. It looks beautiful. We'll be running a few demos on the stand, but primarily now with such a big range, that's mostly about, the retail aspect of it, because we've got The Walking Dead. We're going to have Terrain Crate there. Dungeon Saga is always very popular there. So there's a good number of products that people want us to bring in depth. But so now we're expanding out the gaming area, which was back out just outside of Gen Con. And we've done a few little bits there where, Mike Carter teaches 12 people to play Kings of War 4 times a day. So I think he single-handedly taught about 1,000 people to play Kings of War, which is a breathtaking effort and achievement. It's not an easy game to teach. But so we've extended that. So this time we've got a kind of $1 Walking Dead survive as long as you can get a spot prize. So we're going to have a load of gaming tables set up. You're going to have all the buildings set up. It's going to look magnificent. And you just turn up and you're kind of learning the game, but at the same time, there's prizes for getting the most loot. There's prizes for killing the most undead, the most walkers. And it's just a great way of showing people the joy of tabletop, because a lot of these people are D&Ders or they're card gamers or board gamers, and they just... they're intrigued by The Walking Dead and they're intrigued by toy soldiers, but they need someone to just show them how it works. So, we're really expanding out that space. So we'll have a few Walking Dead games. We've got a Kings of War battle that will have 25,000 points aside, played over 16 feet of wargaming table, all beautifully painted, all beautiful terrain by Rusty and Blake. It's just... amazing. It's just when you see that, certainly for me, that's just they had it at Adepticon, and I think it was 15,000 aside, so they're just going to paint another 10,000 points. Put in context, there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 figures on the gaming table.
That's incredible.
So it looks great, beautiful terrain. So we've got some real eye candy, some participation games, some demo games, some learn to plays. So there's lots going on out in that gaming space. And then on the Saturday night, we'll have a Mantic night. And that's where we go and take over a pub. I think it's in the Hard Rock Cafe. We hang around, we drink some beers, we play some games, we do some Q&A, and just spend the Saturday night gaming, which is something we all enjoy. And it's a great time with our Pathfinders. And so Gen Con we're looking at trying to get a US Mantic Con event to happen, which would be a Kings of War, Clash of Kings USA event. Okay. We were looking at September for Chicago, but I think it clashes with another big tournament. So we're trying to find that. It'll either happen October or early 2019. Okay. So we're trying to find a venue there. In the UK, we're kind of going to all of the major war game shows every week. We've got a little car here and that trundles out. We'll be at Essen.
Nice. That was the question I was going to ask. Yep.
Yeah, we'll be up at Essen, and we'll also be across at Crisis, which is a great wargaming show in Antwerp. So, we're going to be out and about, and then we'll have obviously our November open day, and we've got Clash of Kings, which is the Kings of War, European finals. Really, I mean, sometimes some of the US guys, a couple came across last year, which was great fun. Nice. That's going to be up in Stockport, I think, in October this year. So we had it down in Cardiff last year, so it was more south. So this time we've gone more north to encourage. That'll be about 120 gamers, I'm guessing. Wow. So I think there's already 50 or 60 tickets sold already. And, people are preparing their armies and coming along to that. So that's a super hardcore tournament.
Very nice. Very nice. Let's see here. I got a few more questions, and then I'll let you. I know it's really late there, Ronnie, and I really appreciate you coming on and it's almost midnight there,
talking toy soldiers, so go to sleep tomorrow.
Let's see here. Joel Kopperwitz asks, "What's the upcoming goal value amount that you're most excited about reaching based on what it will add to the game?
Ooh, I mean, I think that $1 million is a big milestone. You know, I mean,
Sure.
I think it's adding a very interesting character to the game, and it's the only character that does what they do. You know, in terms of they're that crazy element. You know, that kind of pop up and insane things happen. So yeah, I mean, I think around there. I think there's a number of. I think that I'm trying not to give away too much, but we did the backup agents, which was a nice starting point to just buff your squad. You know, they're the kind of blue shirts that come in, but you know, Trevor Bruttenholm and Kate Corrigan are, I think, pretty major characters. So we've gone back to Dark Horse and said, look, you know, we'd really like to make these into playable characters. So Trevor is going to be hopeless, no use with a gun, no use in a fight, but he's going to be white dice all the way in terms of knowledge.
Nice.
So it's really good that you're going to have that kind of very vulnerable character. So if you're playing a standard 4-player co-op game, probably not best because he's going to be very, very weak. But if you're going to play yourself a real challenging, hardcore game and you want to throw yourself a few curveballs, you know, bring Trevor out.
Sure.
So I think they're a future stretch goals. If we keep clipping along at the rate we're going, we should be able to unlock those guys. I think that would be really great fun. So you've really got these disparity parties where you've got, you know, the strength and fighting of Hellboy, and you've also got the, you know, extreme wisdom of Trevor, but the vulnerabilities that come with a kind of untrained, unbeefed up agent.
Nice. Absolutely. Let's see here. Let's see. Jason SS. Will we see Cronen? Croenen?
Cronen, yes. Well, a bit far from me to say, but I think he may well be. I
think you might let that slip, Ronnie.
Yeah. No, I think he's. Yeah, I think you can count that he's probably going to be heading your way. I know. I don't think he's on the retail list. I think he's in the Kickstarter. So
nice,
yeah, keep driving that total up. Get your friends to share and pledge, and get out there and share, spread the word, and you'll never know if he pops up.
Click on the link that's in the description and just pledge. Do it right now.
Just pledge. Don't look. Just pledge.
Well, I think that's I think that's a good wrapping up point. I want to thank you for coming on. I like I said, I know it's very, very late there.
Let's do it again, and we'll talk Terrain Crate and Vanguard later in the year.
I would love to do that, Ronnie. Thank you so much for offering that. I would love to have you back on again. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We had quite a few viewers as we were chatting. So I want to thank everybody that watched. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you like Ronnie, give it a like down below and share it, and tell everybody that you got some exclusive information from this Kickstarter on this video. So
I'm gonna get in trouble. I know I've leaked some things I shouldn't have said.
No.
I'm gonna blame it for a late night, stressful day. So.
Ronnie, thank you so much. You and Rob and your whole team, that you do some great work, and I'm just excited about everything you guys are putting out. And once I saw that you guys got this Hellboy license, I can't remember how many people I told, because I was just so excited about it. So I'm so happy that you're having this huge success.
We couldn't do it without your support. We couldn't do it without the 10,072 backers we've got here, and we've had on other products, and the tournament organisers, and the guys that help us build websites. I mean, we have a massive amount. We've always been engaged with the community, and they carry us. They carry us to help us do what we try and do, and we appreciate it.
No, that's great. That's great. All right, folks, that's gonna do it for me. This has been Victory Condition Gaming, because winning shouldn't be the only victory condition when you get to the table. Go back to Hellboy Kickstarter right now. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks everybody.